Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. NordVPN.com. That's NORDVPN.com. It's not just a glove, it's a 44 Pro. Crafted with dedication, made for performance, and built to last. Get your custom glove today at 44pro.com and experience the 44 Pro difference. That's 44pro.com, 44 Pro.
Our patented handles were launched in 2018. We continue to push the boundaries of strength training. Join us in making your training more natural and effective. Visit Engels90.com to learn more and revolutionize your workout.
Looking for tickets to the hottest shows, games, and events? Ticket Liquidator is your one-stop shop for great prices, no hassles, and guaranteed tickets. Whether it's sports, theater, or concert, for the best seats at the biggest events, start with Ticket Liquidator today at ticketliquidator.com. Ticket Liquidator.
Introducing Bark in the Belly Premium Dog Food. 100% of profits go to help dogs in need.
Over 30% of adults struggle with chronic foot and joint pain, and many face mobility limitations as they age. But a revolutionary Comfort First slipper has taken the wellness world by storm. Try Cloud Slides and feel you are walking on the clouds. Cloud Slides.
Hello, welcome on in. Friday edition of the Wicked Boston Show with Cam Stuart here on 365 Sports. We are talking some Celtics today. We're talking some Olympic hockey. We're even throwing in college hockey for the first time, and a really chaotic story about the 2018 Boston Red Sox. Happy to have you guys along. We're live on YouTube as we are 3 times a week. 1 p.m. Eastern time on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We've got stuff dropping on the channel every single weekday here on the Wicked Boston Show with Cam Stewart. It is your lunchtime alternative to Boston Sports Talk Radio, which we're going to lean into quite a bit this afternoon, especially in these early segments. But I did want to start before before we get into this, all that goes into today, I do want to talk some hockey, and we'll talk some hockey at the beginning. We'll talk some hockey at the end. We'll talk about, I have to address an elephant in the room. I teased the biggest guest ever this week on the Wicked Boston show. And I think some of you are going to think that I'm right, because we're going to have Sam Robb O'Hagan of the Boston Hockey Blog on later in the show. But I got stood up. It's Valentine's weekend, and I got stood up by a guest who agreed to come on, had a time, and then just didn't show up. Several emails, because that's the way we were communicating, have been sent out, and nothing came of it. So all I'm going to say is, would I have been rooting for the Soviets on February 22nd, 1980, and having the knowledge that I have now? Probably not. Probably still be rooting for the good old US of A, baby. But I'll say this. I don't care who scored the game-winning goal. Jim Craig is the reason why they won the gold medal. If you look at any of the goal scorers or the leadership team on that team, throw it away. Jim Craig is the one and only reason that the United States won the gold medal and won the semifinal Miracle on Ice. The only reason is Jim Craig and no one else. Okay? And who even remembers the leadership team on the team, right? Herb Brooks is the leader of that team. So you had 3 really good, awesome Massachusetts locals who helped win the gold medal in 1980. 3 guys who are forever beholden to this region, who are heroes to us and selflessly served to win that gold medal. Man, can't thank those 3 guys enough, and can't thank Jim Craig enough for single-handedly putting that team on his back. And people forget Dave Silk was a first liner and how important Jack O'Callahan was for that team in 1980. That's all I wanted to say. Let's talk about the team of 2026, shall we? Because the Winter Olympics have kicked off. The puck has dropped, and the USA is 1-0. They just kicked the snot out of Latvia yesterday. And you might be saying, well, of course, it's Latvia. Tell the Canadians that, okay? Latvia, as a hockey nation, is practicing the dark arts, man. They are always there. They're always a thorn in the side of the big teams. In fact, the only time, or the last time, the USA had played them in the Olympics in 2006 in Turin, in Italy, they tied them 3-3. Archer Zerbe was on that team. But the U.S. really from jump dominated this game. They scored about 5 minutes in. Brady Tkachuk, he's learning what the USA actually stands for on the uniform. Happy for him. This is now 2 BU guys I've brought down in the first couple of minutes of the show, and we're going to talk a lot about BU later on in the show. But they go up 1-0. It should have been 2-0, but it was ruled off for offsides. And then 1-1, and Latvia is in this. And I'm like, here we go. Here we go again. Then the U.S. gets another goal chopped off. And you're like, this is what's going to happen. These Latvians, they're going to be pricks in a good way, and they're going to force this to a tie or something. But after Latvia scored, which was about midway through the first period, not only did they not score again, but I'm confident in saying they didn't have like a high danger scoring chance the rest of the game. Matt Boldy made an unbelievable save. And yes, Matt Boldy's not a goaltender. Here I am taking down BU, propping up BC. But Matt Boldy, I think that was either right after the first goal, an only goal for Latvia, or right before it. After that, it was all USA. They kicked the crap out of them. Brock Nelson, a couple of goals. War Road, Minnesota. You've got to have a War Road guy when it comes to these Olympic teams. The only hometown in common of the only 2 gold medal winning Olympic teams was War Road, Minnesota. It's because Brock Nelson's grandfather and his 2 uncles, his grandfather and great uncle were brothers on the 1960 team, and Dave Christian, his uncle, was the greatest player on that Miracle on Ice team that had a number in the 20s. I'll give him that. Dave Christian, former Bruin. as well. So just business as usual for Team USA. It looked a little hairy there for a second in the first period, but they absolutely destroyed them. I mean, it was poetry in motion with that second Brock Nelson goal with Quinn Hughes and Jack Hughes. And like, this team is a wagon, and you saw it again. And you saw the fact that just Zach Werenski is on their third pairing, man. And you got a guy in the fourth line and Tage Thompson who's scoring a power play goal. Like, this team is a freaking wagon. U.S. and Canada both scoring 5 goals, both with blowout victories yesterday. I mean, knock on wood, but this tournament is all going to be about that collision course. The fact that Canada did that to the Czechs yesterday, like, that feels like one less really competitive team in Czechia. And that's Czechia, I think it's actually how you say it. That's a hell of a team, man. That's full of NHL guys. Sweden also, but Sweden, they just have a bunch of dudes who are having down year and a half. You know what I mean? Their goaltending situation isn't what it would have been like 2 years ago, say. Elias Lindholm is not what he was 2-3 years ago. Elias Pettersson certainly isn't what he was 2 or 3 years ago. Rasmus Dahlin still a horse. I mean, he's obviously gone through, unfortunately, quite a bit in the last year or so, but an absolute horse. So all I'm saying is it looks like a USA-Canada collision course. It does. But I was very impressed with the Americans yesterday. I can't wait to see how they're going to let us down. I can't wait. But it is the Wicked Boston show, so I'm going to shift gears a little bit to, Boston side of things. And I want to talk about the Celtics. I want to talk about this Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum thing. And you're probably wondering, what? A Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown thing? Like, what's going on here? Well, Jayson Tatum has obviously been in the headlines because he's close to a return. And it could happen as soon as like the first home game after the All-Star break. But now, going into All-Star weekend, Jaylen Brown is apparently stirring the pot. Because he posted this yesterday, a little graphic there that shows what this team was at the All-Star break last year versus this year. And he puts it with the caption, "I'm proud of this group and staff and front office," I think is what he's trying to say. "Looking forward to the second half. Go Seas." And you can see, the record is not too dissimilar. They're a couple games behind, but they're still the 2 seed like they were last year. They have a better offensive rating, slightly worse defensive rating, but the same net rating overall. And that is with subtracting a lot of guys from last year's team. No one expected the Celtics to be where they are right now. No one expected them to have a better offensive rating this year without Jayson Tatum, Kristaps Porzingis, Drew Holiday, Al Horford than they had last year with all of those guys. No one saw that coming. The Celtics are genuinely one of the biggest stories in the NBA because of what they're doing, and they're legit Eastern Conference contenders. But see, people see this, and they think that it's not Jaylen Brown actually saying he's proud of this group and the staff and this front office, but rather it's Jaylen Brown taking shots at his running mate, Jayson Tatum. At least that's what they are saying on the Boston Sports Original this morning. This is the morning show, the Greg Hill Show on EEI. And Courtney Cox, no, not that Courtney Cox, is out here giving you what the people want. This is not Jaylen Brown congratulating his team. This is a shot at Jayson Tatum, apparently.
Just saying, the issue here is that it's one guy who has not been on the court with you all season long, who has been the main storyline. Take Al Horford out of it. Yeah. Take Porzingis, everybody else out of it. Whatever. It immediately points to the one guy who we're waiting to see when he's going to come back, and people will immediately start drawing lines to, Jaylen doesn't think that he needs him back.
This is like being at the aquarium or something. Like, you're seeing nature happen in real time. That what you just saw was someone making up a narrative in real time, right in front of our eyes. And of course they run with it because it's sports talk radio. But she's saying it comes down to one person. because I'm going to take out these 3 other people and make it about one person. Like you saw not only a narrative unfold in front of your eyes, you saw a sports talk radio host debunk their own theory while making the point. She says, forget Al Horford. Forget Kristaps Porzingis. Forget Drew Holiday. This is about Jayson Tatum. But why are we forgetting all those guys? Jaylen Brown did not put out stats of where the Celtics are when Jayson Tatum plays versus when he doesn't play. He put out last year's numbers versus this year's numbers. And yes, Tatum was on the team last year. He was the best player. He's the franchise. But you're talking about 3 other NBA championship starters who were not on the team this year that were last year. So yeah, it is about one person. When you take out the other 3, then it's about one person. You know, could you imagine going to South Dakota, seeing Mount Rushmore and saying, this is about one person. This is a monument to one person. You know, forget Washington, forget Roosevelt. This is about one person. Yeah, because you're forgetting the other ones. You're throwing them out. Like, here's the thing. Jaylen Brown is a bit more sensitive than he's willing to admit. Jaylen Brown, I think, cares more about individual success than he cares to admit. But you can't just say this is him taking a shot at Jayson Tatum because you're moving the goalposts, because you're picking something different. You know, all NBA guys, more than any other sport, most pro athletes, right? But especially in the NBA, humongous sized egos. Like we see it every couple of years. A star wants to leave a team because he doesn't feel he's being respected, or he doesn't feel he's number one, doesn't feel like he's the guy. That could come into play a bit here. But it's so disingenuous to just take out the other factors of what it could be for no reason at all. You know, like, I went to the game the other night against Chicago, and their starting lineup was Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Baylor Shireman, Neemias Queta, and Jordan Walsh. So when I see that starting lineup, my first thought is, my God, what a difference from last year. And it's not just because Jayson Tatum is not in it. He's the biggest part, absolutely. But it's also because you're playing Neemias Queta instead of Kristaps Porzingis, or Jordan Walsh instead of Al Horford, or Baylor Shireman instead of Drew Holiday. That is equally as crazy. So that is the media just making something up. That is just making something up to fit their narrative, to fit their argument. That's why you got to keep your head on a swivel when you're doing this. That's why you come to the Wicked Boston show, because we're willing to debunk this all day long. Like that stinks. And there is drama that you can talk about, but that's making up drama. Like that's rat poison right there is what that is. Call up Coach Saban. That is rat poison. And it takes away from, I think, a pretty interesting storyline of you could have Jayson Tatum back right after the All-Star break. And I'm really intrigued to see how the Celtics handle this, because maybe more than any other team I've ever rooted for, and that includes the Dynasty era Patriots, I trust how the Celtics run this thing. Because like Belichick, as much as I did trust him with my life, man, there was every couple of years he'd do some ego trip. You know what I mean? And something would happen just because it's Bill Belichick's ego. The Celtics don't have that. The Celtics are the best run franchise maybe in all of sports. They're right up there. And I'm interested to see how they integrate Jayson Tatum back into the lineup. And I'm not willing to hear Tatum's second guessing live on podcasts, because look, they brought the main Celtics. They drove him down from Portland to Boston to play 5-on-5 scrimmages to have Jayson Tatum in it. Like, to me, that seems like a pretty big commitment. That seems like a serious commitment to him coming to play this year after the Achilles injury. But the two things that kind of stick out to me is, first, are we looking at a bit of fool's gold with where the Celtics are at right now? I don't think so. I think they are a legit contender in the East, but I think it's worth that question of, that starting lineup I just mentioned. Can that win you a conference finals? Can you do that? Does adding Nikola Vucevic do enough? I hope so, because he's been awesome so far, at least in 2 of the 3 games that he's played for the Celtics. But the other thing is they've got a heck of a schedule coming up. After the All-Star break, they go out west, the West Coast swing, at the Warriors, at the Lakers, at the Suns, at the Nuggets. Then at home against the Nets, which everyone's predicting now to be kind of the Jayson Tatum return game. But then you've got a bunch of games, Eastern Conference guys who are battling for seeding, battling for playoff spots, right? The Sixers. I don't know if the Bucks are really battling for much, but they're going to be desperate. The Hornets are suddenly in the picture. The Cavs, you've got some tough games. And then after that, the beginning of next month, you go out west to the Western Conference again to play San Antonio and Oklahoma City. So you've got a heck of a schedule coming up. And the Celtics are second place in the East, but they are just as far from first place as they are from 7th place. So that could alter how you use Jayson Tatum and how quickly you bring him along here. I'm not saying you're going to tank, but your prospects could look a lot different 2 weeks from now than it does right now when you're looking at a team that could well win the Eastern Conference. And the role thing with Tatum is the part that really fascinates me. He's not going to be a starter right away. I doubt that. And I do see him potentially improving their defense, which is top 10 in the NBA, but has not been at the level that it's been the last couple of years. And in theory, Tatum could come back and he could guard a couple of different positions, right? He could basically guard 1 through 4, and you'd feel good about it. I think he's always been a kind of an underrated defender. He was really locked in when Ime was here, especially. But by that same token, how good is his lateral movement defensively if he's coming off an Achilles injury? So I'm interested to see kind of how the team looks with him on the court. I think it is going to be an adjustment because they're playing a totally different style with how ball dominant I would say Jayson Tatum is. Less ball dominant than other top 5 players in the league, but still pretty ball dominant, and the offense does run through him quite a bit. It's run almost exclusively through Jaylen Brown right now. How does that work? That is the dynamic that is dramatic to me. Not Jaylen Brown making a post and everyone else just singling out Jayson Tatum and making it about Jayson Tatum, even though I don't think that's the way he was going. But it does fascinate me to see how they coexist on the court and how that offense looks and whether that does take a step back for the Celtics. And I think that's where Jayson Tatum's anxiety is coming from. And I will use the term anxiety now that he's second guessing whether he should come back this year. I think it is about how the team will gel, with a month left in the season before they go to the playoffs, maybe a month and a half before they go to the playoffs. And you just suddenly throw someone else in there who is not 100%. He's not going to be 100%. And I think the other source of anxiety is there are probably some days where he doesn't know if he's going to be Jayson Tatum ever again. And that's where I've changed my tune, because most of this season and beforehand, I was saying, don't even effing mess with it. Just keep him on the shelf. Run it back the next year. And see what you got. You know what I mean? Don't risk this for a team that's going to be 500. Now they're a team that's well over 500. And now I think you kind of have to play him. He's ramped up. He's very close. Unless he gets a pretty significant setback, I think you got to play him this year. And if nothing else, it's got to be like, hey, Jayson, you're not doing another spring and summer where you're thinking about this. We don't want your next basketball game to be in late September in a preseason game. We want it to be in March. We want you to get out there and know that you can get back out on the court and be Jayson Tatum again. So I think they are going to play him. What that role is, I'm still looking for it. I'm excited to see what it is. Let me know what you guys think. Do you expect him back this year? What's the role going to look like? It is this drama, is this beef between Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum? Let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. We come at you every weekday, but live 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern time on YouTube, and then wherever you get your podcasts as well. It is your lunchtime alternative to Boston Sports Talk Radio, where we're not just picking narratives out of thin air. It's right here on the Wicked Boston Show with Cam Stewart on 365 Sports. I do want to get to, we're going to talk in a few minutes to Sam Robb O'Hagan, who wrote the best bit of student journalism, sports journalism anyway, that I have seen this year. We're going to talk to him about this scathing article about BU hockey. 3 straight Frozen Fours, #1 in the nation earlier this year, and now they're about to miss the tournament. And Sam Robb O'Hagan is going to diagnose why that is happening in our own backyard. But before I get to that, I got to talk some Red Sox here. And this is a crazy, crazy story that is going on here. It relates to the 2018 team, which is probably the best team in Red Sox history. On the Section 10 podcast, Brock Holt told an insane story about the 2018 Red Sox. And he was kind of relating it to the Rafael Devers trade and whether you really care about the locker room, the clubhouse, whether these guys are real like clubhouse cancers and what that means. And he says, even on the greatest team that we played on, we did have one of those guys. He doesn't name them, this person, but we can put 2 and 2 together here. Here is the crazy story, and a warning, YouTube is not going to like this because it does talk about some violence.
Had a guy or two like that in 18, and we got rid of them, and we took off. I'll tell you this. We were in Tampa, and we were stretching before BP, and we were all in a circle having a good old time. This someone looks around at all of us and says, "You know what? I'm going to bring a gun to the field tomorrow and kill all of you." And then he looks straight at me, and he says, "And you're going to be first." And I was like, "Dude, I know you're probably joking, but you can't say that."
You can't say that, man. You can't say that. And why are you coming after Brock Holt? Brock Holt's like the nicest guy of all time, dude. He's like the Jimmy Fund captain, like most likable dude of maybe the last 10 years with the Red Sox. Like a friend to everybody, does everything the team asked of him. And even on this really tight group, this 2018 team, someone is threatening to kill him. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? And he doesn't say who it was, but hey, he did mention this person got released. And I think back to May of 2018 during a series in, oh, that's right, Tampa, St. Pete, Tropicana Field, when Hanley Ramirez out of nowhere suddenly got DFA'd by the Red Sox. And his career was essentially over. Because he had a good 2016. I think he hit 30 homers for that team that went nuts offensively. In 2017, he had a pretty decent year as well. And then in 18, all of a sudden, he gets DFA'd in the middle of May. Now, he wasn't having a great year, and there was not really a need for him. But it was a bit surprising. Now it's not. Now it's not. I think we could easily put 2 and 2 together and find out that was Hanley Ramirez that did that. I don't know what it is about the name Ramirez with the Red Sox, but you get some insane characters, man, between Manny and Hanley. I mean, you just can't do that. That is as crazy a story as I've heard about the Red Sox in quite a while. And it puts into perspective, like, not saying that Rafael Devers wasn't a clubhouse problem, because, he very well could have been. And I didn't think he was being a great teammate the way he handled it last year. But at least he didn't threaten to kill anybody that we know of. I mean, just wild stuff. Absolutely wild stuff. And man, would love to get Brock Holt on the show. I mean, I am familiar with Brock Holt's hometown, and it checks out completely. Like, he is such a country boy. Good old Southern Texas, Stephenville, Texas, baby. Unbelievable high school football town. It fits right in. What a story. I mean, that is unbelievable. That's on the greatest Red Sox team ever, by the way, that's happening. So anyway, let me know what you think about that story. Comments below. Like, subscribe, helps out the channel a bunch. Speaking of great teams, the last couple of years, BU hockey has been a great team. This year, at one point, they were number 1 in the country. They have all these first-round draft picks, names that you will hear in the NHL for years to come. So why is it that they suck? Why is it that they play like a bunch of assholes and don't beat anybody? They got thumped in the Beanpot Championship on Monday, a game in which I was in attendance, and I should have known better. We're going to get to the bottom of that answer, because there's a great article written by a BU student journalist, Sam Robb O'Hagan. And I say student journalist, this is not like a guy who's doing it for a class, okay? He is in there all the time. He's covering college hockey, men's and women's. He's covered college basketball, football. Like, this dude is all over the college sports scene here in Boston. And he is a BU student, which does show some balls that he wrote this article that he did. After the break, we're going to talk with Sam Robb O'Hagan on what has gone wrong with this BU team, and the answers, and of which there are many, are going to surprise you. That is next on the Wicked Boston Show.
Blackmore Bar and Kitchen, located in Charlestown, is the perfect spot for a bite and drink before a Bruins or Celtics game at TD Garden. Blackmore Bar and Kitchen offers 34 rotating beers, craft cocktails, and an eclectic menu of tavern favorites like burgers, sandwiches, and flatbreads. Join us for brunch every Saturday and Sunday, plus pre- and post-game garden events. Blackmore Bar and Kitchen. Check us out at blackmorebar.com.
Dive into adventure with scuba.com, your ultimate destination for top-tier scuba and snorkeling gear. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, trust scuba.com for the best in diving equipment and expert guidance. Explore now at scuba.com. That's SCUBA.com. Scuba.com.
It's the Restore Clarity Focus Patch, my little secret weapon for staying sharp, focused, and on task. Each box comes with simple instructions inside, so you always know exactly how to apply it. Each patch lasts for 3 days. I love that I can wear it all day.
This is what $500,000 in a duffel bag looks like. Actually not real. That's because it's actually prop money. It looks realistic from a distance, but up close you can see it says for motion picture purposes. Visit propmoney.com today to get your money seen or money shot right with Prop Money Inc.
Golf Partner, the world's largest golf store network, offers more purchasing opportunities than anywhere else. With a dominant market share and a wider selection of quality secondhand golf clubs than our competitors, we make it easy for you to enjoy the game with affordable, top-quality equipment. Golf Partner.
It doesn't matter if your investment budget is small or big. All you need is Benzinga Pro and its powerful news alerts, price tracking, and portfolio monitoring. Subscribe now, and we'll skyrocket your portfolio today.
Experience with the Bosley MD hair regrowth kit was amazing. It was easy to use. It let me take off my hat. I could go in public and have my picture taken and feel normal again.
BosleyMD.com.
Welcome back to the Wicked Boston Show here on 365 Sports. Your host, Cam Stuart, Zach Burke, behind the glass, keeping us on the air every day on YouTube, live 3 days a week with segments going out every day. It's your lunchtime alternative to Boston Sports Talk Radio right here on 365 Sports. I'm going to do something, folks, that I haven't done all season. You've heard me allude to it, right? I talk about it kind of here and there, but I'm a big college hockey fan. And it's the only team that I really didn't have a choice in the matter, or I did have a choice in the matter. Big BU Terriers fan. I was there on Monday night when they lost the Beanpot. And I, like the rest of us leaving in Scarlet, were pissed off. And we needed someone to put this into words, why we're so pissed off this year. And that was left to our next guest from Boston Hockey Blog. It is Sam Robb O'Hagan, who wrote the scathing piece. It's called Let's Face It, BU lost the Beanpot because it just isn't very good. Sam, I loved this. I saw a lot of positive reaction, but it was a scathing review of this BU hockey season, the job that Jay Pandolfo has done this season. So what's been kind of the reaction that you've heard from it?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I feel like as a student journalist, you're always kind of a bit worried to publish something like that, right? Like, we're not professionals yet. It's difficult for us to gain access to these guys, and we're there as much as we can, right? But Jay Pandolfo is, I don't know how old he is, like 50 or something like that, right? And I'm a 21-year-old, right? So it's tough, but gotten a lot of positive reviews from former Freep alums, former BHB alums, just about takes a lot of guts to kind of have that take. I actually had I cover Connecticut high school hockey for the New England Hockey Journal around here, and I had one of the coaches that one of my sources there, he texted me, he was like, that was a good article and I agree. And I was like, dang, he's not in the state, right? So I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, I'm glad that it went over well, and I'm glad people agree with it, right? I think that's kind of the point of journalism, right? Sports journalism especially. And so I'm glad that student journalism, which is obviously very near and dear to me, could bring that to people.
Yeah, and I should expound on that because, I'm not just saying that because you're here. That takes a lot of balls. It does. But it's the right thing. This is journalism here, and you backed it up. It's a column with facts is kind of the way I like to call it. It is a story. But man, I mean, this is a team that was number one in the country in the second week of the season. We knew it was probably not number one, right? But coming off 3 straight Frozen Fours, a bunch of talent on the roster, all these first round picks. Yeah. You thought it would be better than this. So let's keep with a simple but very loaded question. Sam, what has gone wrong? Why is this team going to, in all likelihood, miss the NCAA tournament?
So I think that there's 2 ways to take this, right? There's if you just keep it in a vacuum of what's happened this year, right? And I think what's happened this year is a lot of, things that just kind of happen every now and then in sports, right? I think that you've gotten a lot of regression from a lot of players at the same time. I tell my buddies all the time on the blog and just in general, if you think about all the returners, honestly, not even returners, let's just think about anyone who's not a freshman, right? Anyone who's played college hockey before this year. The only player on BU that I really think has not regressed or actually has actively improved is Cole Hudson. Cole Hudson's been fantastic this year, and obviously kind of had a bit of a lull there after the whole World Junior scare, but he's been really good. Every other sophomore has just not been as good as they were this year, and the reason for that is kind of hard to figure out, but Cole Eiserman, goal scorer, right? That's his whole thing. Snake bit, just cannot figure out a way to score goals, and he's still kind of scoring, but he's missing grade A chances every game at this point. Sasha Boumedian surged at the end of last year as a freshman, gets picked in the first round by Winnipeg. He has been pretty brutal this year. I mean, he's gotten unlucky, and then every single mistake he makes as a defenseman kind of ends up in the back of the BU's net, but there are a lot of mistakes from that kid. Sasha Boisvert is a transfer, comes in from Nodak, NCHC Rookie of the Year. That's a huge conference in college hockey. First round pick of the Blackhawks. He's been invisible at times this year. So I think you got a lot of regression.
You got in a fight.
You got in a fight. You did get in a fight.
What, 3 games because of that?
Yeah.
It's big for the team.
Yeah. So I think that's happened, right? You've dealt with aggression, which is going to happen. It's inevitable in sports. Kind of is what it is. I think you've had some struggles scoring in front of goal, which is that execution of the day? Yes. But I think that you grip 6 too tight, you get snake bit. It is what it is. I think that's happened as well. So I think that just from a vacuum of just this season, and you just want to look at what's happened in the past 29 games, I think you've gotten some unfortunate things have all kind of happened at the same time. But I do think that there's a much bigger conversation to be had about the big picture of like the way this program recruits, the way this program builds its roster, the way it just has its philosophy essentially. And I think that was more the point of the column. That was more where I think the conversation should be, because like ultimately, like, yes, BU's had a lot of kind of things kind of caving on itself all at once this year, but I do think there are kind of some fundamental, maybe not flaws, but things that should be reevaluated and just looked at from the ground up here.
And let's look at that, because the thing that stuck out to me, and you embedded it in the article, was Sasha Boumediene on Spit and Chicklets, and kind of a surprising quote about why he picked BU. And he said, Coach Pando and the staff told me, like, our goal is to get you guys to the NHL as soon as possible. Mm-hmm. And obviously a college hockey program's goal should be to develop players, and ones that play at an NHL level is usually a pretty good thing. But we've seen that, like, kind of proof in the pudding of just churning guys out and getting them to be top draft picks. And it seems like that is playing a huge part into why this team has recurring problems, chemistry problems, and why it feels like there's no cohesiveness. And Jay Pandolfo saying the same thing every weekend.
I don't think it can be overstated, like, just how difficult it is to have one senior. And they have one senior. He's a transfer too. He's from Nodak, came over with Boisvert. He's playing as the extra forward right now on McLaughlin. Like, I think it was so telling. BC, right, in the BPOP final, is the third youngest team in the country. So they're also very young, and yet still so much older than BU. They have so much more experience. I think they had 5 seniors dressed. 3 of them are captains, right? Andre Gasseau is one of them, obviously. He scores twice, I think. Yeah. And then Gustafsson is another senior captain. He scored on the power play. Like, I don't think it can be overstated, like, just how difficult it is, especially when, like, you have such a young core to not have any. I mean, Gavin McCarthy is captain. He's a junior, but, like, you don't have anybody who's experienced, really. And I think that is, you really see that kind of rear its ugly head. And one of BU's biggest problems this year has been, like, they just do not play consistently whatsoever. So they'll play well for a period and then get away from it. And it's just kind of this recurring just game of Jekyll and Hyde. And I think that does feel like a problem of youth, right? And I think that if you just had more guys around that could kind of, right the ship, like, think like the last 2 years, obviously, like, BU being young is not a new thing. They've been young under Pandolfo all 3 years, but the last 2 years they had 5 seniors on the roster. Think about a guy like Jack Hughes, right? Matt Capone, he's a transfer from Merrimack, but he's still been around Hockey East. Year before that, like Cade Weber, think about someone like that, right? Case McCarthy is the captain. Like, are those players, high-end players going to go play in the NHL? No. But I do think that, like, you do need that balance. And I think I've talked to a lot of coaches around college hockey about this. Like, how should you kind of approach the whole, like, high-end talent versus, like, experience and age thing? And they're like, you kind of live in both worlds. And I think that BU has gone so far in one direction where, like, they're only looking at the high-end draft picks who are going to be true freshmen who are going to leave after 2 years. That's your entire roster. And I think that I think they flew too close to the sun this year is kind of like my overarching takeaway from all of this.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good way to put it. Like, they kind of did put their eggs in that basket, having to replace a lot of talent from last year. And this is the result. And, you look at the teams that do finish the job, right? Like BU, 3 straight Frozen Fours, that's banner worthy for sure. But the teams that do finish the job, like a Western Michigan last year, the team's got a lot of old guys on the team. They play a physical brand. We saw it with Quinnipiac a couple of years ago as well, a team that finished the job in 23. And I think that all kind of, to be a little crass here, Sam, I think that leads to a lack of balls. BC got their ass kicked by a bad UVM team last weekend, and BU actually won against a desperate Maine team, beat them in overtime. And then they meet in a game that is of consequence, that really matters. BU plays a good first period. It's tied at the end of 1, and then it's 5-1 over the next 2 periods. Like, is that what you're seeing? Like, a team that is just not able to take a game by the scruff of the neck unless things are going absolutely perfect?
Yeah, I think one of the things that's been interesting is that my colleague Eli Cloutier picked up on this. Like, if you look at the record BU has when they score first, I think it was 9-3-1. It's good, right? Yeah. Like, But even then, like those 3 losses, so UConn, it's right after Michigan State series earlier in the year. UConn's a very good team, had a great year last year. They're solid again this year. BU goes up 2-0 in the first 10 minutes of that game. They're playing incredible, and they just get away from it. And then Pando said after that, and I thought this was one of the most telling quotes of the entire season, even though it was, the 5th game of the year or whatever. He was like, our guys see that it works, right? We score 2 goals when we're playing the right way, and it's not satisfying for them. And like, not that BU has had a lot of those games where they go out in front and then they end up kind of like giving it away. But I think you're just seeing a team that like does not understand or is not willing for some reason, whatever it is, to play really gritty kind of effort. Like ultimately, and Pando will say this, and everyone's going to say it's hockey, right? Like good offense requires effort. Sometimes you have to dump the puck down low and just go and get it and win a board battle. Like that is ultimately what this sport comes down to a lot of the time. And BU just has not been willing to have that kind of full effort for 60 minutes for basically any game this year, to be honest. Like if you go look at just BU's, like, even the games they win, and this is what I think is so crazy, like they've won 1 game easily this year, and it was Colgate, and that was 2nd game of the year, right? Like you're playing Merrimack, playing UVM, playing UMass Lowell. Like even when they're winning, these are not easy, dominant performances. And like for a team that was 2nd in the preseason and 1st going to Michigan State, like it's just wild to see them not be able to dominate anybody. And again, it's because they're not consistent through 60 minutes.
The red flags might have been there against Michigan State. I was at both those games. Oof.
I thought they were there, honestly, and it's funny, like I thought the LIU opener was really bad, and I was like, and then the Colgate series is 2 win, and then you tie and win the shootout in the 2nd game, and Colgate's not great, right? So I was already going to MSU being like, this is not looking incredible, and like it's 4 games at that point, so you're not really freaking out. But yeah, Michigan State, they got mauled. They played better in the 3rd period of that 2nd game. They forced overtime, but yeah, they got. Yeah.
But man, that first game, the 2-on-1s, I mean, just odd man rush after odd man rush. They were getting bullied a good part of that series. I do want to ask about one of the guys who was not on the team then and is now, and that's Tynan Lawrence. That's a guy who is seen as potentially a top 10 prospect in this year's draft. Stock might be taking a hit right now. I look at it through the lens of not just a BU fan, but a huge Bruins fan, and seeing that they could well have a pick in the top 10 via the Toronto Maple Leafs. What have you seen from Tynan Lawrence, and do you think his stock is taking a bit of a hit?
Yeah, Tynan is so interesting to me. Like I remember when I was actually on the flight. So the women's team at BU played a tournament in Belfast, and I was on the flight back from Europe when that news broke. And I remember being so fascinated, right? Because like, it's not the same at all to Yegorov, because Yegorov is in the worst USHL team. Like they had fired like multiple coaches and like when he was there, right? So that felt more like BU was like, all right, we have this recruit. He's a big time recruit. Let's go airlift him out of there. We also have a goalie need, so we're gonna go fill that. But like it makes sense for Yegorov to leave. He's already drafted too, right? So just like development wise, it's obvious. Tynan, not drafted yet. Muskegon is the defending USHL champion. He's the captain. That's one of the best programs in the USHL right now. You're going into BU, which is a struggling team. Like I always wondered, like, this seems a bit unnecessary, because like right now, if you didn't leave the USHL, you would be a top 10 pick almost certainly. And like, if you want to go to number 1, I get it. It makes sense. Like going and proving that you can hang with college kids for that half season before the draft is going to help you there. But the reality is that Tynan went into a situation in which like nobody on BU is scoring right now. And even Pando said this when I asked him about it. Like, this is not a good offensive team. So like, I know he's got 1 point or 2 points, 11 games, whatever it is. But like that, it's hard to argue that's Tynan's fault. So do I think his draft stock is taking a hit? Probably. Because like, he's going into the college hockey world, and he's trying to light it up, right, to make an impression and rise in the draft. And obviously he's not lighting it up. So I think it's dropped, but I do think that Tynan has still been very, very solid. He's probably been one of BU's best players since he got here. And I would be hesitant to worry too much about his point production. 1, because I think that Tynan's a player that impacts the game in other ways anyway. And 2, because this is a rough situation he's in right now.
Yeah. And let's talk about, you obviously watched him a bit in the USHL and all his games with BU. You're talking about the things he's doing well. What are those things? What have you been impressed by with Tynan Lawrence, even though, like you said, the production, if you look just at the numbers, it's not going to jump off the page?
So I was talking actually to Parker Burgess, who was his coach at Muskegon yesterday for a different story, and I just asked him about him at the end. And Parker told me that like when Tynan comes in as a 16-year-old, right, last year, like the super, super high-end kid, and you kind of expect a player like that is going to cheat the game, right, cheat for offense, he's going to be a bit lazy. And Parker actually alluded to the idea that like at some points they had to like get Tynan to be more aggressive because he cares that much about the defensive zone on the forecheck. Like he's got a motor that does not stop. And the word or the phrase you hear a lot with him is plays the right way. And I know it's cliche, but like if you really watch the kid, like he does play the right way. One of BU's biggest issues this year has been players not willing to dump the puck down and reset and go win a battle below the goal. And he will do that. He's very good in those battles too. He's just a very kind of smart, intelligent, disciplined player. I think he's great in the D zone. His stick is very good. So like he's very good at kind of using it to poke pucks out of, players' possession, whether it be in the D zone or like in a battle in the corner or whatever. Like if you really just watch Tynan shift to shift and forget about if he's scoring or assisting and you just watch what he's doing every time he's out there, he's a very impactful player.
I'd love to hear it, man.
Yeah.
The Bruins cannot get enough centers. And obviously this is a long way off. We don't know where they're picking or anything. Right. But that potential of a 6-12 kind of pick, it could prove, and Don Sweeney loves picking a dude who plays his college hockey in Boston. Mostly American, which is tough here, but
and he's played as BU's second center or first center the entire time he's been here, and like it's been a revolving door around him who he's playing with, right? It started being Cole Eisenman, I forgot who it was, maybe Jack Harvey with him, but now it's Pavera as a left winger and Jack Harvey on the right. But like he has been mainstay as a center in the top six for BU since he got here, and like he deserves to be. Like he's been that good.
And I know there are a lot of hockey fans around here that probably tune into the Beanpot and then tune in again when it's tournament time. And so I'm wondering, you are the expert here. I'm just a fan. Is this a down year for the Eastern powers and specifically the Hockey East teams?
It's certainly a down year for BU. It's certainly a down year for BC. I mean, BC obviously is doing well right now, but I think that we kind of knew that about BC, right? They lose so many guys last year. Like it's kind of inevitable. Providence has won, I think it's like 9 in a row now. So they kind of came out of nowhere and have taken Hockey East by the throat a little bit. But yeah, it's definitely a down year for Hockey East in general, right? Like last year, I don't know how many bids they had, but this year they're kind of scraping by to get 2 at this point, Providence and BC. And then maybe if you have a surprise team win Hockey East, you get a 3rd bid. Yeah. I think the reason for that is the CHL rule, a lot of it. Like you got to realize like 65 teams in the CHL, whatever it is, were added as eligible players to the college hockey world this year, and college hockey added 0 roster spots, right? So there's way more players that are good in college hockey, and so like BU can only hold 26 guys or whatever, right? So they can't take every single A-tier player, and so eventually it's going to trickle down to everybody else. And so I think generally you're just seeing college hockey kind of compress. The parity is a lot bigger. Like a team like it's only been 1 year of the rule, right? So you're still not seeing all of that just yet, but I think you're starting to see kind of what this is going to look like with the CHL rule. Like there are just so many good players that want to come to college that in the next 4 or 5 years, and coaches tell me this too, like you're going to see a lot of parity. And so it's going to be harder for a team like BU, which used to have 5% of the A-tier players in college hockey is now going to have 2% of them, right? And so it just makes it difficult for the high-end teams.
And one last thing, just to build off of that, I unfortunately talk way too much about other college sports like football and basketball and NIL and who that kind of sifts out, so to speak. And I look at the teams that are at the top this year, Sam. I see Michigan. I see Michigan State. I see Penn State. I see some kind of sleeping giants programs, Michigan and Michigan State, the last 10, 15 years have been off and on quite a bit, but they have deep pockets. They play football and they've got a lot of money. Is that a trend that's going to continue as these high level guys from the CHL look more towards college hockey?
I don't know enough about the NIL world to give you a great answer on that. I mean, I would assume, it
worries me, man. It worries me.
The numbers you've heard with like Gavin McKenna and the Providence kid, Roger McQueen, like Gavin, I think is at 700K. That was the reported number. Roger McQueen's at like 300K. That's bigger than like an AHL salary, right? Like way bigger. And so like, I think that for players that that might not get, like Hagan's, for example, is probably going to go straight to Boston whenever he decides to leave, which will probably be this year. McQueen's too, like whenever he leaves, probably going to go straight to Anaheim, I think it is.
Yep.
Like for some of those like not lower tier, but like players that are kind of in between the AHL and the NHL, whenever they decide to sign their ELC, I think you could see like more of them be more willing to stay for, you know, longer than their sophomore year, because like they're going to get paid more than they would in the AHL. It can't hurt to be overcooked, right? As, you know, a developmental prospect. So I think you might see that. I mean, again, you got to realize CHL ruling, this is the first year it's happened. I don't know how many CHL players are in college hockey right now. I don't have that number, but there's going to be way more in the next 3-4 years. So we'll kind of see how that evolves.
There he is, Sam Robb O'Hagan, Boston Hockey Blog, trying to make sense and making pretty good sense of why this has been such a fall off for BU and Jay Pandolfo this year. Sam, before we let you go, just let the people know where they can find your work.
Yeah, so we're at hockey.dailyfreepress.com. We're a branch of the Daily Free Press, student media. Obviously, you can find us on X at BOS Hockey Blog, on Instagram at boston.hockeyblog. We post there all the time now, so go follow us over there. And yeah, thanks for having us on. I really appreciate you highlighting student media.
I mean, for real, like, and we have college hockey fans here, and obviously, you know, Bruins fans who are keeping up with prospects. Like, you guys are doing some of the absolute best work out there. I'm not just saying that.
Thank
like,
you.
This is how I keep up when I'm not actually at Aganis going to games. So I can't recommend it enough. So Sam, thanks again.
Yeah, one of the coolest parts about college hockey is that basically everybody that covers it is a student. And I think that's really cool. And if you go, like, Penn State has a student media body, Michigan, like, go follow all those guys as well. They do great work.
It's awesome stuff. And you do it as well. Sam, really appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
There he goes. Sam Robb O'Hagan, Boston Hockey Blog. I can't say enough, guys. Keep up with the work and all that they're doing to cover college hockey. And if you got some BU fans watching, let me know your thoughts on this team in the comment section below, or maybe some bitter or, you know, trying to dunk the basketball BC fans. Let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're dropping every day and go live 3 days a week. It is your lunchtime alternative to Boston Sports Talk Radio right here on the Wicked Boston Show with Cam Stewart on 365 Sports. So thank you to Sam. Thank you to everyone for following along. Thank you to Zach for keeping us on the air. We will see you on Monday on the next edition of the Wicked Boston Show.
Relax with Hemp Delicious. Organically grown hemp, massively blended with delicious organic herbs, responsibly sourced for their holistic benefits. Each sip offers calming, antioxidant-rich wellness. Brewed just for you. Sip the calm with Hemp Delicious.
At Open Goal USA, we're revolutionizing training for both soccer and lacrosse with our innovative portable rebounders. Perfect for players of all ages and skill levels. Visit OpenGOAAALUSA.com and elevate your training today.
Farmhounds offers natural treats and chews made with quality products that support family farm, regenerative agriculture, and humane farming practices. Give your dog the best with wholesome, organic ingredients that promote health and happiness. Shop now at farmhounds.com.
Get paid faster with Bill, the easiest way to send, receive, and manage your payments. No more delays, no more hassle. Whether you're a freelancer or a business, Bill makes payments seamless and secure, simple, fast, and reliable. Sign up today at Bill.com. We Rogue Media Sports.